The year was 1635, and the newly thriving colonies showed promise, hope, and opportunity as a new extension of England full of wealth and prosperity. Many Englishmen sought these newly found treasures and crossed the Atlantic from London to colonial towns like Newbury, and so began the Spencer Peirce Little Farm. John Spencer, a 31-year-old cattle investor, was granted 400 acres in Newbury from the English government as a new settler. He was also given a 4-acre plot of land to live on near the Parker River. John Spencer was a great influence in the founding and maintaining of Newbury. He was a representative of Newbury to the General Court in Boston, as well as captain of the local militia. He also aided in the building of a mill with his good friend Richard Dummer. John Spencer greatly influenced the economy through his thriving business of harvesting the salt marsh on his land. He also ran a very prosperous livestock farm. John Spencer left Newbury, however, after being an open supporter of Anne Hutchinson and her religious beliefs. He left his land to his nephew, but after his death in England in 1648, his nephew sold it to an ambitious farmer from Watertown, Daniel Peirce Sr. Daniel Peirce Sr. was an active member of the Newbury community like John Spencer. He did everything from blacksmithing to malt making to farming and even cattle raising. Peirce built many different buildings which increased the worth of the site to £700 by the time he died and left his estate to his son, Colonel Daniel Peirce. Daniel Peirce Jr., or better known around the town of Newbury as Colonel Daniel Peirce, was possibly even more active in the Newbury community than his father. Colonel Peirce took the roles as Justice of the Peace, militia leader, a charter representative, and part of the Council of Massachusetts Bay. Colonel Daniel Peirce was the first of the owners to actually live on the farm, building an extravagant manor offset from the road, unlike the common houses placed tightly together close to the road. This beautiful brick house effectively showed the wealth and power that it was meant to. After the death of Daniel Peirce Jr. in 1704, the farm and house stayed in the Peirce family until 1778. During this time, the Declaration of Independence was read on the doorstep of the house to the people of Newbury. The house was then sold to one Nathaniel Tracy. Nathaniel Tracy was known for remodeling the house. He was also a very successful farmer and created jobs for immigrants on his farm. They lived in the attic, and their signatures and drawings are scribbled all over the walls in their living quarters. Nathaniel Tracy was also a very successful merchant, and during the Revolution, he was the owner and operator of a fleet of privateer ships. As a result of this, however, he lost a great deal of money and ended up dying quite poor. After his death, Tracy's widow sold the estate to a privateer who once worked on one of Tracy's privateering boats, the infamous Offa's Boardman. Boardman was a very famous privateer during the American Revolution. This enabled him to donate what he took from attacked boats to the Revolution, while also pocketing some money for himself. As a result of privateering for the revolutionaries, Boardman was put in jail in England twice, but grew in popularity back in America. After the Revolution, Offa's Boardman moved into the estate purchased from the Daniels and continued to run a successful business by means of a wharf in Newburyport. Boardman was a millionaire at one point in his life, but lost it all and died in severe debt in 1811. To pay off the debt, Boardman's widow sold the estate to John Pettingill, who made a nice profit off of tenant farming and eventually passed the house on to the Little family. The Little family owned the house for over 100 years and finally gave the house to historical New England so that the history of the house could be preserved forever. The Spencer Peirce Little Farm is very important to understanding American history because it gives a glimpse of American life from 1635 to 1986. That is 351 years worth of history preserved in one house and one farm. It also holds records of how people lived throughout the time through diaries and other artifacts left behind. Walking through the property is like walking through time, and because of historical New England, it will always be preserved.